Welcome to Trip Ideas by Otomo AI. Some mountains do not simply rise above the landscape, they perform. In the Dolomites, pale limestone spires catch the first light of day and turn rose pink. By noon, they can seem almost bone-white against a hard blue sky. Roads slip between high passes, quiet meadows, polished resort streets, and villages where the food carries the memory of the mountains. Welcome to Trip Ideas by Otomo AI. Today, we are taking the long way through the heart of the Italian Alps. We begin in the elegant natural amphitheatre of Cortina d'Ampezzo. We pause beside the mirror-still water of Lago di Braies. Then we follow the flavour and heritage of Alta Badia, slow down in the storybook valley of Santa Maddalena, and climb toward the raw drama of Passo Sella and Passo Gardena. Take your time with this route. The Dolomites are not a place to rush through. They are a place to pull over, listen to the wind in the grass, and watch the light change on stone. Cortina d'Ampezzo arrives with confidence. The town sits in a broad natural basin, surrounded by the jagged walls of the Tofane and the Cristallo Massif. Above pastel facades and a slender bell tower, the peaks seem close enough to touch. This is the grande dame of the Dolomites. There is mountain purpose here, certainly. In the morning, you may see ski mountaineers setting out, but there is also a polished Italian ease. Later in the day, the pedestrian Corso Italia fills with unhurried strollers, shoppers, and people lingering over coffee on sunlit terraces. The best introduction is simple. Wake early. Look up. The local phenomenon of enrosadera paints the rock faces pink as dawn arrives. It is a quiet transformation, but an unforgettable one. Then, as the day brightens, those same mountains settle back into their pale, monumental colour. For a wider sense of the valley, ride a cable car toward the Tofane or Faloria. The Ampezzo Basin opens beneath you, all forest, road, rooftop, and sudden vertical rock. Walkers can head toward Cinque Torri, a remarkable cluster of stone towers where trails pass open-air remnants of First World War fortifications. Back in town, Cortina asks you to slow down. Browse the boutiques and delis, order kazunzie, beetroot-filled ravioli finished with butter, poppy seeds, and mountain cheese, or settle in with cannelli, the comforting dumplings found across these alpine valleys. As evening falls, a glass of local grappa feels right. Outside, the light drains from the peaks. The valley becomes hushed. Cortina is where the Dolomites wear their finest evening dress. It is beautiful, but never only decorative. The mountains are always there, holding the town in their immense stone frame. From Cortina, the road leads toward one of the Dolomites' most recognizable visions, Lago di Braies. The lake sits beneath the sheer wall of Croda del Becco. Its water changes with the weather and the hour. Sometimes it is jade, sometimes deep emerald. On a calm morning, the surface becomes so still that the mountain appears upside down in the water, as if the whole basin has been folded in half. The old wooden boathouse and its rowboats are famous for a reason. The composition feels almost impossible. Dark timber, green water, pale rock rising behind it. Yet the most rewarding part of Lago di Braies may be what happens after you move away from the first viewpoint. Walk the gentle path around the shore. The lake changes with every turn. Pine forest comes close to the water. Small openings reveal a new angle on the cliffs. You may hear only the breeze moving through needles, the soft sound of footsteps, and if boats are out, the faint creak of oars across the lake. Timing matters here. In summer, the trails are generally snow-free and the water is at its most luminous, but the lake is immensely popular. Early morning and late afternoon bring a different mood. The crowds thin. The reflections deepen. There is room to sit quietly and watch the light move across Croda del Becco. In autumn, gold enters the reflections and the atmosphere softens. In deep winter, the lake can freeze, leaving the basin silent and spectral. It is a completely different kind of beauty. If conditions allow, take a rowboat onto the water. Out in the middle of the lake, the surrounding walls feel larger and the reflections seem even more precise. But there is no need to do much. Lago di Braies teaches patience. Wait long enough, and it gives you a moment of pure alpine stillness. Alta Badia is where the road trip becomes delicious. This cluster of Ladin villages, including Corvara, La Villa, and San Cassiano, lies among rolling high pastures beneath the dramatic forms of the Sella and Sassonga massifs. The landscape is broad and green, but the rock is never far away. A field of grazing cattle may sit directly below a wall of limestone that looks almost theatrical. What gives Alta Badia its depth is its Ladin culture. The Ladin language is still spoken here, and the heritage of these valleys lives on in place names, architecture, cooking, and the rhythm of daily life. It is not simply a mountain backdrop. It is a place with its own character. Summer is made for moving slowly through this terrain. High pastures open for hiking and cycling. Trails lead across the slopes, with long views and mountain huts offering a pause between climbs. A walk toward the base of Sasanga brings the valley into perspective, with villages scattered below and the larger Dolomite groups rising around them. Then there is lunch. Alta Badia has a rare balance of wildness and refinement. You can spend the morning on a demanding trail, and by afternoon, sit down to a meal that treats local ingredients with real care. Look for turtras, fried pastry pockets filled with spinach or sauerkraut. Try barley soup, rich cheese dumplings, and the mountain cheeses that carry the taste of high pasture. A long lunch at a refugio is not an interruption to the day. It is part of the landscape. The warmth of a dining room, the scrape of boots near the door, a bowl of something hearty on the table, and the view of distant rock through the windows. These moments are as much Alta Badia as the trails themselves. In winter, the area becomes part of the vast Dolomiti superski network. But in every season, Alta Badia offers the same invitation. Come hungry, in every sense, and let the Ladin valleys nourish you. Val di Funes feels almost too perfectly composed to be real. Its most famous view is also one of its simplest. The small church of Santa Maddalena stands in a green meadow. Behind it, the serrated Odle group rises in a long stone crown. One church, one pasture, one jagged ridge. Nothing more is needed. This is quieter country than the larger resort valleys. Farmhouses hold to the hillsides. Cattle graze on steep slopes. The roads are smaller, the pace gentler, and the eye is drawn again and again toward the dramatic skyline of the Odle peaks. Come in summer for lush meadows and clear views beneath blue skies. The hiking trails at the base of the ridgeline are at their most inviting then, carrying walkers into the Braies Odle Nature Park, where the scenery grows wilder with every step. Autumn changes the palette. Grass and larches take on warm gold tones, and the valley becomes especially photogenic. In winter, snow quiets everything down. The church, the farmhouses, and the ridge seem to belong to a fairy tale, though many high trails are no longer accessible. There are two views worth lingering over. Santa Maddalena is best seen in soft morning or evening light, when the meadow and mountain face feel gentler. Nearby, the church of San Giovanni in Ranui sits in another meadow, with its own striking relationship to the peaks. But do not treat the valley as a checklist of viewpoints. Leave time to stand still. Watch clouds pass along the Odle. Notice the texture of the grass, the wooden barns, the changing weather on the stone. Afterwards, find a farmhouse-style eatery for local speck, mountain cheese, and a slice of strudel. Val di Funes proves that powerful landscapes need no embellishment. Here, the silence is part of the view. For the final act, the road climbs. Passo Sella and Passo Gardena are where a Dolomites drive reaches its dramatic crescendo. These are high mountain roads, rising through switchback after switchback and opening into scenery that feels raw, elemental, and almost unreal. The great fortress of the Sella Massif dominates the view. Around it, towers of rock rise from slopes of grass and scree. Every bend changes the frame. One moment, there is a wall of pale stone. The next, a distant valley opens beneath you. Then the road turns again, and the sky seems suddenly larger. This is driving as pure cinema. Cyclists come to test themselves on these legendary climbs. Motorcyclists follow the curves, and travelers in cars find themselves stopping again and again, simply because it is impossible not to. The important thing is to let the pace stay unhurried. Pull over safely when the road allows. Feel the cooler air at altitude. Listen to the wind moving over the open slopes. Look closely at the contrast between the loose grey scree, the green pasture, and the almost sculpted surfaces of the limestone. The passes belong to the broader story of this journey. Cortina gave us alpine elegance. Lago di Braies offered stillness. Alta Badia brought flavour and Ladin warmth. Val di Funes showed the pastoral, intimate side of the mountains. Here, at Passo Sella and Passo Gardena, all of that gentleness gives way to scale. The roads do not merely connect the Dolomites, they reveal them. Each climb draws you higher into their geology, their weather, and their impossible shapes. By the time you descend, the memory is not of one single viewpoint, it is of motion. Curve after curve, stone after stone, a mountain world unfolding through the windscreen. A Dolomites road trip is not really about covering distance. It's about learning how differently the mountains can speak. In Cortina, they frame a world of terraces, town streets, and evening elegance. At Lago di Braies, they are reflected in green water so still it seems to hold another sky. In Alta Badia, they stand beyond the table, shaping a cuisine rooted in pasture, cheese, and Ladin tradition. In Val di Funes, they become the dramatic backdrop to a meadow and a small church. And at Passo Sella and Passo Gardena, they rise close around the road in a final display of scale and force. For hiking, high summer generally brings open trails, long days, and bright meadows. Autumn is quieter, with golden larches and softer light. Winter offers snow, skiing, and a deeper silence, while spring can be a transitional time in the high country. Whatever season you choose, leave room in the itinerary for weather, for long lunches, and for the unexpected stop that becomes the moment you remember most. Drive gently, respect the mountain roads, and do not be surprised if a single view keeps you parked longer than planned. Thank you for traveling with us. For more journeys shaped by beautiful places, visit the Ottimo blog at ottimo.ai. Until next time, take the scenic route.
Optimo AI. Better trips, better life.